Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is tough to run across all of the handhelds. We're going to have a look at the best performance at the best settings on the Legion Go, Steam Deck OLED and ROG Ally X in this video, so you can see just how these handhelds are performing. Starting off with the Steam Deck OLED, and I'm going to show you something else that is of interest. Pretty much for the best case on all of these is you want the low preset with minimum resolution scaling at 66%, 30 FPS cap, and TAAU anti-aliasing. And the reason for that is because if you look on the left here, you can see TAA, which is where I started, and TAAU on the right. It is so much cleaner with TAAU. It looks really cartoony with just TAA on, so do bump it up to TAAU. Even with 30 frames per second cap, the Steam Deck OLED with the lower settings with medium textures has some serious pop-in issues, and still doesn't have the greatest stability either. Although we've got this blown up somewhat, you can see the resolution scaling kicking in around the character and around some of the effects, although it is good enough to play. This is a little bit into the game, so you will get slightly better effects earlier on, but not so much around towns with some heavy load spikes here and there. But this is why we wanted to test outside. Switching over to the ROG Ally X at 25 watts at 720p, although we're pushing 120 Hz to make sure we're getting the most out of that VRR display, it's not really required. So same settings really are the best actually on this, but with VRR it's the display sync technology. Although I thought I was able to get a little bit more out of the Ally by putting this on the medium preset, keeping that 66% minimum, and dropping pretty much everything apart from texture resolution down to medium instead of high, and shadows on low. Now, something that actually does make quite a difference that I didn't realize till later on is that character shadow distance. You want to bring that down to around 3 at best, and you will get better performance overall. On the Ally screen, I thought I was getting better, but now it's next to each other. You can really see that anti-aliasing and resolution scaling kicking in a lot more with the medium settings, even at that 30 FPS limit. And when we do put them side by side in a little bit, you'll see just how much blurrier this actually looks. So to prevent that, I think having the shadows down to 3 or 2, which is what it's set to on low, will prevent that happening a lot more on that shadow distance front. But I think low is probably the better way to go for more stability overall and to keep that 100% resolution scale a bit more often. But as you can see, it was still quite solid at 30 on medium settings. When we switch over to the Legion Go, it seems like the newest driver, the one that's just dropped a couple of days ago, actually gives slightly worse performance here, but sticking with the low preset, 66% minimum resolution scale and medium textures, we don't get anywhere near as much pop-in as we did on that Steam Deck OLED, but we get a much smoother frame rates. Now, I left it uncapped for this first bit to see just how well over 30 that it could push. This is also a custom 25 watt TDP mode with a very aggressive fan mode, but you're better off just putting it up to the max, otherwise it will overheat. You can push this to 30 watts, but it will overheat a bit quicker and won't really gain you much on this one. It does look extremely clean though on the Legion Go screen, and having a lot less pop-in really makes a huge difference. See, when I put them all next to each other here on another battle, just how much more blurry that ROG Ally X looks, even though it was on medium settings, because that resolution scaling is kicking in more often. The Steam Deck OLED actually does look more blurry, and the resolution scaling does seem to kick in a little bit more when we put them side by side again. Even with the Ally on medium, it actually looks a little bit cleaner than the OLED did, which is a shame, but these are pushing 25 watts instead of 15 on the deck. Legion Go is, I think, still just pushing a little bit cleaner picture here, with no major issues with pop-in or blurriness, but we don't hold that 30 frames per second, and it definitely seems to struggle, but sits around the 28 mark. If we put them side by side, just moving around, you'll see what I mean around that blurriness of the medium with the upscaling at 66%, and that's why I think low with that 66 minimum and medium textures is the best across the board. Let us know in the comments below if you're diving into this one and what handheld you're playing on. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.